I've had social anxiety as I've gotten older. I don't necessarily know why. When I was younger, I really didn't have problems. As a kid, I could just go up to people and start talking, and it's a lot simpler when you're younger. You just talk about your favorite football team or like candy, and you guys can become best friends. And then as you get older, you know, there is a little bit of expectation of the conversation, and with that comes maybe being embarrassed a little or feeling the need to prove something or self-consciousness. And a big one to me is I could always understand not wanting to talk to new people, but I even struggled talking to people that I did know. And a big part of that was because I got in my own head about where I was in life, and maybe I was right, maybe I was wrong. To be insecure, that's a good word, insecure about where I was and what I was doing in my future. And I didn't really want to be asked about my life. I didn't want to be asked about myself. Sometimes, especially if you know these people already, you never know what they need, right? You guys might both need a conversation, something to laugh about, remembering old good times, and venting about the bad things in life, letting some steam out before you say something you don't want to say to a random person or do something you never know, and kind of just being there for each other. You never know how much they need it, what they're going through. Maybe they're feeling the same exact feeling, so now you guys both feel that way, and you guys don't talk to each other when all it could take was a simple conversation, and things flow and you catch back up and you talk about those good times that you've had. And recently I was asked to go to the coffee shop to pick up a coffee, and before I didn't really want to go. I struggle to get out of the house sometimes to go pick stuff up, but that's not really like my big thing. Like, I know some people who don't want to go out to eat, they just rather just stay at home. I'm not really like that, but interactions and potentially seeing people I knew wasn't my favorite thing sometimes. It's one thing to not want to talk to some people sometimes, but when it's an everyday thing, it's a problem, and you need to work your way back into society. When I went out there, I saw people that I knew, and we caught back up. You know, it's easy to get into your own head when you don't socialize and you hear about these failures, and you can get an image in your mind of what's going to happen, and it's not going to. Your own head is honestly can be the worst place to create doubt in yourself, or these imagining these scenarios that where it could go wrong, when really I went there and we struck up a conversation and we talked for a while. I think like over an hour, and it was good to just talk about old things, good times, stories, and to hear them talk too, right? Not everything has to be about me saying something funny. I've always liked to be the funny guy, but listening to what they have to say. You never know if they're feeling bad, and if these are people there that you care about, maybe you could cheer them up. Maybe you could remember a story that they don't remember, and then once you start talking about it, they remember it and they start laughing, and it's just a good way to get out there and talk to people. We are social creatures. It's the type of stuff we need to do, and I'm glad I went out there and did that. You know, life isn't always about only doing the stuff you want to do. Sometimes you need to do stuff for other people, and along the way, you never know what can happen. Now getting more towards talking to people you don't know, or not as close as friends maybe, especially when it comes to getting a job. Nowadays, I heard from somewhere that in my city that it's a faster growing city. They've opened up some restaurants and warehouse jobs and different things in my area, and I heard that they were getting like thousands of applications. And I'm not gonna lie, how would I stick out as somebody, just a name on a piece of paper with no real accolades, no degree or anything, and even experience? Most of my experience is restaurant, so if I'm trying to branch into something, they want you to come on and be able to do the job, which is understandable. Whatever, it is what it is. You can't really get mad at that. Nowadays, you have to know somebody to get a job. There's a little bit of time where you can just apply, but in my own experience, the most recent couple jobs, or the times that I've got an interview recently, it was because I knew somebody and I was able to get a good word, and it didn't really go my way, but if I didn't have that connection, I wouldn't have even had a chance. And then there was another job that I actually had for a while. I got because I knew somebody and they were needing people. And it doesn't make it a failure if these don't go through. If you don't get the job, but at least you got a foot in the door because of a reference or knowing somebody, or the job may have not have been the greatest, but at least you have another bit of experience. You never know who you could meet on that job, and maybe you can pursue this with somebody else, or you get the experience to try it, or maybe it's in a different field. It's not a failure because it didn't work out. It's just another step in the process, and you may have never experienced that if you didn't have that conversation, if you didn't know those people. And also want to talk about just general small talk. I avoided small talk for a while because I wanted everything that came out of my mouth to be deep, and I wanted to, I don't know, sound smart or impressive, or just skip the human connection part of life, where not everything has to be numbers, not everything has to be interesting. You can talk about something boring and have a normal conversation with people and build some rapport. Just live, bro. Have the conversation. You know, maybe you talk about something and it isn't the best, or nobody wants to talk about it, or isn't interesting. Okay, you threw it out there. You guys move on to something else. And what I will say, as someone who has avoided interaction, and sometimes you're just in that part of your life, you're depressed, you don't want to talk to people, you don't want to be seen. You know, I've been there before. It is what it is. But to move on, you have to get out of that. You cannot be a functioning adult and not have the ability to talk to people. It's not going to work. And what's funny is when I see that in other people, I'll be around somebody who, as a person who used to be quiet, not really have anything to contribute sometimes, just all around just silent. As I've gotten older and learned to socialize more and gotten out of my shell, when I encounter somebody like that, it is interesting to see how, wow, yeah, this person isn't adding anything. I don't really, not that you don't want to see this person, but it's not like you're excited to see them. What are they going to do? Say nothing? Or bring the vibe down, right? You can't even have a small talk, just a little conversation with people to keep them going, or, you know, not everything has to be productive or you're setting people up with your conversations, but you can't even like fill some time. You know, as you get older, a lot of it is just, there is a lot of time, there is a lot of like space to fill, and you're not one of those people that people are going to talk to. You never know, if you have a conversation with somebody, they start to like you, what it could lead to. But I've seen that in other people, and I'm like, wow, now I know what I was like. And I just make sure to not go back into that, you know, recluse type of behavior, because I've been there before. It isn't good. And all around is, you know, we are social creatures, and it's important to get out there and socialize with people. You never know what type of connections you can set up, where you could end up, the type of people you'll meet, or how much the conversation means to somebody else.